Hello there, and welcome back to Whiskey Reviews with me, the Whiskey Novice. Now, here you find us still in Scotland. I was in Scotland the last time, my last review. As I say, still in Scotland, and this time, and for the next few reviews, I'm going to be looking at the regions of Scotch whiskies. So we're starting today, and we're starting in the Lowlands, and in particular in Auchentoshan distillery down there in Glasgow area. So here we have it, Auchentoshan 12-year-old single malt. Auchentoshan stands alone, born in 1823, Scotland's only remaining distillery to insist on triple distilling every drop. Auchentoshan 12-year-old is a smooth and complex single malt Scotch whisky with notes of mandarins, toffee and honeysuckle. Honeysuckle from bourbon casks. Now, the one thing that I mentioned in there, which does stand alone or stand aside a wee bit in Scottish whisky, is the fact that it's triple distilled. Most Scotch whisky is double distilled, distilled twice. I heard a story about why Auchentoshan's triple distilled, and I can't validate this for the simple fact that I haven't been able to find any more about it. But the story went that the reason it's triple distilled is it was set up to make whiskey to please the Irish that were coming to work on the Clyde, and the reason it was triple distilled then was because Irish whiskey is triple distilled and are mostly triple distilled, and this then was triple distilled to please the Irish coming to work on the Clyde. Whether this is true or not, as I say, I cannot confirm because I can't even remember where I heard the story. But whether it's true or not, it's a nice story. It's, as I say, it's triple distilled, and that's, there's not a lot more to tell you. I'm not going to go into the full history of the distillery. That's what the internet's for. So I'll set that up and we'll just go straight to the review. And there's another reason why I don't really want to go on too much about this. I'm being a bit picky about this for a simple reason. Yet again, I've really worked on notes for this whisky, and I've tried to like Auchentoshan whisky. I have a couple of different examples of it, and I don't like either of them. For a whisky that's supposed to be triple distilled, generally you'll find triple distilled whisky is lighter, simply because it's been through the distillation process 3 times rather than twice. Twice distilled just tends to be a wee bit heavier, rougher, which is, and it's not a bad way, but this is why Irish whisky tends to be that bit lighter and softer, because it's triple distilled. And as I say, this is triple distilled, and for a whisky that's triple distilled, it's not, in my opinion, terribly light. Now, you have to excuse me, I've had a touch of the cold, but my nose is working again. There's a funk on this that I just never liked. There's orange zest, I'll say, because it's certainly not, it would be orange zest hanging around on the nose. It's sweet. Yet again, I find an awful lot like on this, funnily enough, that I found on the Bruichladdich that I reviewed the last time. I found notes very similar, which I found strange considering they're two very different whiskies. It's sweet yet again, but bitter. Brulee, there's like a burnt sugar almost. Vegetation, green vegetation. yet again, as I say, same with the Bruichladdich. Find it's a whiskey I found very, very hard to nail down notes on it. I just find it's all a bit jumbled. There's nothing to me just sits and out or wants to be found. It's just a bit of a vegetated mess, really. Let's try the. It's a whiskey which I find very, very hard to describe because there's things in it which I would just say I don't like. But I mean, how can one describe what one doesn't like if you don't know what I like and don't like? On the finish. The finish is probably the best part of it. It's fairly medium dry. There's a gingery thing off it. It's bristly. If you know, there is a bristly thing off it. It's hard to explain. It does. I know this whiskey from experience. Now I just poured that there, as you've seen. The last time I sampled it, or when I was taking the notes on it, it did sit in the glass for a while, quite a while, and it does. This is one that needs time, and I've noticed this. To say reviewed it, I gave notes on it many, many months ago, and I remember at the time saying the same thing: give this time in the glass, and it will improve. There's no denying that it improves, but the window gets very small on between it being better and then starting to go a bit flat. And when I say about going a bit flat, I mean it starts to become a bit sickening again, and that bristliness which is in the final and the ginger, which is in the finish, as I say, is quite nice. Probably one of the best parts of the whiskey. Even it then starts to diminish and thin a wee bit. So I'll do the same again and add a drop of water and see. I'm not going to add this. This is bottled at 40%, so I'm not going to go daft with the water. It doesn't take a lot. There's a couple of good drops. As I said, it's 40%, but it is quite pointed, if that's a term. And the nose really does open up, as in it's just give it more volume, but well, yes, I mean, it's brought out it's become juicier. It's certainly become a more juicy wet, which is no bad thing. It's not, on this, certainly on this whiskey I would say that's better. Maybe, yeah, tropical fruit. We're not, yet again, it's just such a mash of things that it is like tropical fruit, but it's all just messed up. Very ripe. Yeah, very ripe tropical fruit. Kiwi. Yep. The nose is definitely better. I'll give it that. The nose is better with that. Just a little drop of water. Quite easy to overdo the water in this. As I say, it's only 40%, so don't go too hard on it. A couple of drops is enough. But the palate has become incredibly bitter to me then. Especially right at the back. Get into the back of your tongue, the palate's become very bitter. And it falls, it thins and flattens very quick. And that finish, which was good, becomes thin. The gingery thing is gone in it. Still there, but toned down. I'm not a fan of this whiskey. Sometimes you like them, sometimes you don't. So out of 10, what do I think of it? 6.5 is as good as it gets, I'm afraid. It's just, as I say, it's a bit jumbled. What notes, what flavours there are there just don't stand out. They all tend to blend together. But remember, this is just my opinion. And we're all different. Anyway, let's leave that at that. Here's to your good health. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.